Our human performance programs, which include resilience paths and practices, are designed to strengthen all aspects of a person's life, from health and fitness, money and prosperity, growth and development, and contribution and sustainability. And people who grow stronger in all of these areas tend to be better, happier, and more productive employees because they are better, happier, and more productive outside of work as well. And we have to look at it from a whole person, whole life perspective. We can no longer separate different parts of our lives. It's so integrated. This is the way we really have to approach our resilience as well. And so that means you can do more to prevent burnout when you work with us to help your employees become more resilient. And you can make your organization more resilient at the same time. All right, so let's go on a digital to human journey to a more resilient workforce. To help paint a picture of the different ways that Aduro helps to support the individual and the organizations building a more resilient workforce, I'd like to bring in the expertise of Casey and Yana. So we use coaching and digital solutions to help people start to uncover their resilience. This is a skill that applies to all aspects of human performance, as I mentioned before. And by extension, this extends to all the areas of an individual's life. So Casey, since you've been involved in creating and envisioning a lot of our paths to this point, can you walk us through how our paths are created?
Definitely. I think the first thing to really to speak through is that every single path that we have is truly rooted in resilience and habit transformation and change. Regardless of if somebody is working through weight loss, stress management, resilience in itself, every branch of our content really goes back to the individual figuring and finding what truly is most important and valuable to them, which leads to greater habit and behavior change. And when we think about the paths, practices, and habits that are available, these aren't just elements of content scrapped from different resources throughout the industry. It's content developed by those who work with individuals day in and day out on habit transformation. So our coaches and our content team actually source and write these materials so they're incredibly aligned with our transformative habit change methodology. When we think specifically about resilience or change resilience, this is really the journey and the experience of developing self-awareness, exploring emotions, supporting through tools and resources, and shaping and developing habits that support an individual even after the path is complete. So working through communication or difficult conversations. So when we think about the user journey, we want to provide an opportunity for every participant, regardless of what you're working towards, to deeply explore what's most important to you or what's most important to them. And every element of content is really built around bringing a participant through this experience, discovering opportunity, engaging in relevant material, connecting to value, and implementing tiny little practices that lead to longer-term, sustainable, and real change.
Excellent. Thank you, Casey, for walking us through that. And on the individual side, our one-to-one conversations are very led by what each participant needs. So Yana, for participants to look to support and stretch their resilience muscles, what are the popular paths in the Aduro app that participants are utilizing in order to get what they need specifically for themselves?
Yes, so as Casey mentioned, in one way or another, all of our programs through the Aduro app really tie into the concept of resilience, but the ones that are specifically centered around the topic of resilience, that includes our Change Resilience, our Intro to Mindfulness, our Live Empowered, and our Change Your Habits program. And what's interesting to note is that all three of these programs, specifically focused around the topic of resilience, are some of the top chosen programs by our participants. And what's really great about the Aduro app is that it's actually built to be your personal digital companion. So it has different resources available to support your individual goals with many different modalities depending on how you learn best. And it's all available to you 24/7 and really allows for flexibility in your routine.
Thank you, Yana. All right, here we go. Okay, so our human performance coaching really taps into an individual's intrinsic motivation and helps them to identify their limiting beliefs that are holding them back from reaching their goals, and helps the participant to discover their why. This is that individualized conversation that I was mentioning earlier. And typically, the funny thing is, people know what they should do. They should lose weight. They should stop smoking. They should exercise more. They should get up earlier, but they may not have actually stopped to think about what really matters most to them and why this matters. And inevitably, when we ask people this, what matters most to them or what it is they really want for themselves, there is a long pause and we hear something like, no one's ever asked me that before, or wow, I haven't thought about that in a really long time. And this is what really holds the key to discovering their deepest values, their goals, their desires, and what is truly important to them. So finding that why, we call it the ignite moment. This is what drives action and produces results that matter to the individual. It goes deeper than just teaching them something or giving them a plan. It taps into that inner fire inside. So Yana, you're coaching people on a daily basis. Can you walk us through your recent experiences with a participant and their own discovery of their ignite moment?
Absolutely. So I just want to point out that no one schedules an appointment to work on their resilience. As you mentioned earlier, Tony, building resilience, it requires buy-in. It requires being vulnerable, being open to possibility. And it requires having a lot of those really uncomfortable conversations in which you're exploring thoughts and emotions that usually go unexplored. And so an exercise that we use often in coaching, and I really like to start off my sessions with this, is a visualization exercise. And it's really intended to create leverage around our why. And so what we have participants do is really envision what life would look like 5 to 10 years from now if nothing were to change. So I was recently working with a client, and diabetes is prevalent in her family. And as she was going through this exercise, she was envisioning 5 to 10 years down the road, a life where maybe she was diabetic, maybe she wasn't able to move around and engage with her kids, and really didn't feel confident in herself and her body. And so from this exercise, she identified that her values of family, health, self-love, and acceptance are really her reasons why change is essential to her. And not changing is just not an option.